My name is Vincent KRULL. I'm the product manager of smart cameras from Alecs Vision. Today I want to introduce you how to use a smart camera, especially an open platform smart camera. Everything I say it's roughly specific for Alecs, but it's also for all other open smart camera platforms. So we labeled it open because we are open for software in different ways. And this is why I explained this. And yeah, take you with me through the different system architectures for using different software approaches. So Alecs as hardware platform is well known in the market. So we started this product line in the end of last year. So the main features to call this a little back is that we use our well-known platform Alvium as MIPI camera set, and we started with the 5 and 12 megapixel sensors out of our entire Alvium product portfolio and integrate this in our smart camera. Combine this with the NVIDIA SOMs, so system on modules from NVIDIA. And we decide to go with the NX Oran versions, with for sure the highest RAM possibilities, and also with the Nano version, also with the high RAM opportunity here with 8 gigabytes. And each SOM, for sure, not only from NVIDIA, have dedicated chips which you can step-by-step enable. And for this, there are different power modes available. And it is necessary to know that because based on the thermal design, as we heard before, you can expand your tera operations per second. There is a watchdog inside the system which decides if it's too hot to decrease the power frequencies of the dedicated cores. And with the Alecs, we have a dedicated terminal design which allows us to use the high power modes of the NVIDIA SOMs inside. But that's everything about the hardware. Details you can check on our webpage. Today, I really want to give you an insight of how to use the system architecture to run your software in it, or to run software which you want to use. So I started on this slide on the top arrow path. And to show, I activate my laser pointer where I am on the slide. So firstly, in each system, and here you see the frame around is like the smart camera frame. We start with the acquisition part. There is where you capture the images. And then we have a pre-processing execution path, which means the pre-processing of the images, white balancing, Bayern pattern, or everything for the image pre-processing will happen somewhere on the camera module. Then we go deeper in the system and talking about the SOM. Here we, for sure, at the Alecs example, have the NVIDIA board. And here we need kind of a streaming access and access to the camera features, which will execute on the camera module itself. We each time talking about pre-processing. So this happens at that point here inside. Later we have more details on the system architecture, but just in the beginning to explain how we can understand it. And after the access to the image and the features, there is the specific openness and the freedom for customers. Here I really explain how you can use the image processing or the decision coding. And that's the customer space where customers really can create whatever they want. And then on the right side, we have the interfaces to the outer worlds to communicate with PLCs, with illumination lights or whatever. So that's in general the path through a smart camera vision system with AI. Talking about the customer interesting part, the image processing and decision coding. So each time you want to develop a machine vision application with an open smart camera, you need to ask yourself, okay, where can I get my image from? And that's the point, how can I get access to the streaming of the camera inside the system? Then the big part is what should happen with the recognized images, with the captured images. There should be a kind of image processing, not the pre-processing, really the processing, which should happen on the CPU, GPU, or the NPU, which is neural processing unit for sure. There you can run AI algorithms on it. But the question is really what happens to the image inside the camera? And then when you have a kind of do measurements or find shapes or something, then you need to decide what should happen with the result. So should we activate some actuators, some motors, some valves or whatever? This is what should happen in the decision coding path. What happens with the result? And on the right side, how can I communicate my result out of this system? So that's the interface discussion then. So, and based on this flow, we have several options with an open smart camera system, step by step for different customer types. First is the customer type who has their own software as Docker image, as container software, or developers or scientific customers. They really want to do everything by themselves. They have just the idea how to use GennyCam and know the standard, and they want to run their own algorithms for image processing, for decision coding, and they really know how to communicate with PLCs. And for those, we have the full flexibility with open smart camera platforms like Alecs. Then, as Alecs Vision, we also have a one-stop shop approach where we also provide some software libraries. The software libraries in our house, it's called eVision libraries, which can do different applications and do the image processing. So the big part here. So we have a rainbow-colored full solution center, let's say, for the applications which can help with the eVision libraries. I will in detail explain this later, but mostly we're talking here about image processing. So with eVision, you get access to the stream, and you can then use libraries to process your images for the application you want to use. And for sure, you pay a license later just for the library you want to use, not for all, just for the library, and once per device. And it's not the case that you pay for the entire software suite, you just pay for this kind of software blocks you need for your application. And the big advantage for the decision coding part and the communication to the other world, you have full flexibility. So, and this solution is made for system integrators or machine builders, which really want to have some kind of ready-made foundations. They want to have some help, but they want to have also the freedom to customize it for their applications, for their machines. And for sure, there are also some big players in the market for also system integrators or end customers. They already have on their production floor installed software and an ecosystem where they for sure using Halcon, Merlic, or Zebra solutions. And for those, we also came with Alecs and we are compatible with them. So we ensure that you really can use their software on the Alecs, and we prepare everything that this runs really well and discuss also with them how to license that and so on. So these are the three options to run an open smart camera platform like Alecs with different knowledge of software. So all these approaches are directly aimed to a different customer type and a different effort type. So here we're talking really on the customer space. Going also to developers means we need to help as good we can. So with GitHub, we have a big space of a lot of code, and we decide from Alecs Vision to launch a GitHub space, especially for Alecs codes. So as open platform, we also want to show some code examples, how to control the lights on the sidebar or on the top, or when you want to have a rainbow coloring. There we have some example codes. We also have example codes how to for showing you how to back up your image or your software image which you created, how to restore it. So there are a lot of code examples inside, and this GitHub space is growing a lot about the time. So to help developers to really accelerate their design and process. And talking about the Halcon platform, so what we do, so we start with the Alecs as hardware platform. And now we focus really on the ecosystem around. That means especially that we now step by step go with the software providers, which are already known, and ensure in really good cooperation that the hardware and their software runs good together, and we create application notes to show customers from all how to use this. And this we will step by step also will do for the others. And for sure, we have also in our portfolio all lenses you need, all illumination units you need. For sure, you can directly power your illumination unit here in this connector, also in the Alecs, and power and control it through the Alecs itself. And for sure, this is also possible with different software suppliers. Coming back to the data flow and the system architecture view. So this is what you know, and now I will fit in step by step with more boxes and arrows and explain in detail how the access, especially through GennyCam, will happen. So in the beginning, I said we have on the sensor part the capturing of the images, and then we have an integrated ASIC with the Light Vision firmware for the different sensors. And here is the pre-processing, everything you want to use as feature, which is already developed about 10 years, and with the entire, as mentioned, Alveum portfolio we have. So we also have a big feature set, which we directly can use in the Alecs itself. And for that, we have 3 opportunities to get access to that. First is just the video for Linux access to the customer space to really run your code on. Then we have an MIPI version of the Alveum inside. That means we can use the CSI transport layer, and especially directly the GennyCam standard, the Gen transport layer for consumers. But for sure, you also can use the Vim by X API from Light Vision for using Alveum cameras. That means you have 3 opportunities to get access to the video stream. And also, especially with the GennyCam standard, you have the entire device tree to get contact to all the hardware which is around the Alveum. And as mentioned, we have also access to the light, which you have as option, and you can control it, same to the GPIOs. And then on the hand, explained by using the second option, based on the software decision, and you want to use the eVision libraries, here's how this as example looks like. You have here in the customer space the eVision part with the libraries, which get the streaming access through the API Vim by X, and you get an output out of the image processing, a kind of a result. And then you as customer needs and has the flexibility here in your code to decide what should happen with the results, how you want to save some things on the memory or communicate it to the outer world via the Ethernet or whatever, serial interfaces for PLC, whatever you want. And for sure, we have here the NVIDIA possibilities with the CUDA system, how you can, which helps you to get access to the GPU, DLA, or PVA. On the Alecs itself, we pre-installed some NVIDIA libraries, which we think are the most important to run the best code on GPU, especially for AI applications. But for sure, we have there also a release thing behind that. We are also ready to get now the new Jetpack 7.2 inside. And yeah, this is what we see as BSP update service, which we also need to have for application, especially with open smart cameras. Talking about eVision, so if you want to use some image processing and want to have some decisions by yourself, I want to explain a little how this is running. So firstly, we have a studio, a freeware studio on our webpage where you can create your machine vision task inside. That means you can create based on a tool set, tool chain, and kind of a graph where you combine different things. For example, with return of interest, and do some sensors stuff and explain what you need to do. This is really the doing, and this helps you in the kind of that you can combine plug and play graphs. And out of that, you can generate code. And the code generator helps you that you directly get access to a C++, C# or Python code, which you then can easily swap to the Alecs itself and run the code there. And the interesting point is that you here on the top in the code generation see what kind of library you use in this graph. And this is the only license you need to pay in the case that you run the code and not on the design interface. So The design interface is fully free. You can work with everything. You can try out on developer side. And when you find the right code for your for the right application, then you can run it. But for sure, please keep in mind the decision part and the communication to the outer part is something you need to develop, or you can develop by yourself. If not, for sure, we have the other solutions. Use a software you already trust, or develop everything by your own with your software developers. Okay, coming to the end, just the overview. When I mentioned we have with eVision a colorful rainbow of application image processing libraries, this shows everything. So we have DCR, classify, segment things, locate things, which are our deep learning libraries. But we also have the standard application stuff for QR code reading, barcode reading, matrix code reading, measurement task, and so on. So these are several libraries which have a subset of things which you can combine in the pre-shown graph. And for sure, you just need to purchase one library per one device. So it's not necessary to buy the entire software suite just for one application. So you choose what you want. On the last slide, I showed the overview about all our documentation. So afterwards, I will share the link and you can then easily click on the bubbles and then you go to the link and see how to run with the different codes, for example, some marketing materials, everything you need to know in the user guides and so on. So now I'm happy about your questions. Thank you.